If you would like to support the podcast and get some extra content while you're there, head on over to patreon.com/Severe MMA podcast and sign up. From the rewatch to the Q&A, we will have loads of content every week. So sign up, patreon.com/Severe MMA podcast. And now, here's the podcast. Welcome everybody. It's episode 337 of the Severe MMA podcast. My name is Sean Sheehan, joined today by the Kenny Florian of Irish Mixed Martial Arts Media, Graeme McDonald, as we talk about a fucking huge weekend in the world of mixed martial arts. And there's some stuff coming up next week as well. I'm tired, I'm weary, but we're going to start it off and we're going to have a great chat here. But before we do that, we've two sponsors to tell you about. Ho, gentlemen, the holidays have come early this year with Manscaped. Have that gift that keeps on trimming. Santa's beard isn't so appealing when it's coming out of your trousers, and that's why Manscaped, the leaders in blood waste grooming, have you covered this holiday season. Now available in your country, join the 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped to keep their trees trimmed and ornaments polished. Go to manscaped.com and use the code SEVEREMMA for 20% off and free shipping. Jingle balls to the walls, fellas. Listen up. It's time to kill two birds with one trimmer and get yourself and your lady a gift. I'm talking about the Manscaped Performance Package 4.0, which myself and Graeme have been using for absolutely ages at this stage. Inside that 4.0, you'll find the Lawnmower 4.0. It's an electric trimmer that has proprietary advanced skin-safe technology to reduce cuts on your nuts. It's also waterproof, so you can use it in the shower. It's like the gift for your partner with less mess. The Manscaped Performance 4.0 also includes a crop preserver and ball reviver. Crop reviver, even anti-chafing ball deodorant, moisturizer and toner. This hygiene bundle will come with a pair of Manscaped anti-chafing boxers that is the perfect wrapping for your presents. The performance package comes with tools to clean up the delicate places. Included in the new package is the Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, which is waterproof and uses 9,000 RPM motor power 360-degree rotary dual blade system. Nobody, not even Santa, wants their hairs under that chimney. Manscaped is going beyond the grind with the new refined cologne, which I have, is absolutely it's absolutely fantastic. Offers a light yet masculine pleasing fragrance that will leave your lady on the naughty list this year. It's made with hypoallergenic ingredients that are vegan, cruelty free, dye free and paraben free. This season it is the season to load up with Manscaped products, so get yourself, your dad, your brother, your friends, the best gift of all. That's Manscaped Performance Package 4.0. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code SEVEREMMA at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping with the code SEVEREMMA at manscaped.com. Clean up your nuts and make Santa proud this year. So, Manscaped. Also, this episode is with our friends over at BETUS. If you are in the US and Canada, betting season is in full force. NBA, NFL, the playoffs, everything like that. You may already know this, but BETUS has been pioneers in the sportsbook industry for almost 3 decades, thriving and paying their loyal customer base. It's betus.com. They have loads of bonuses. Join now or call 869-BETUS. It's 800-MY-BETUS. Or go to severemma.com/BETUS. It'll take you right there and you'll receive a 125% sign-up bonus by using the code SEVEREMMA. They have re-up and referral bonuses. Also, BETUS is known as America's favourite sportsbook for a reason. BETUS has all your NBA and NHL games, player props, Bellator, UFC, everything like that. Golf, online casino, the horse races, and everything like that. It's hundreds of games. It's a race book. They have every bet type imaginable, and the Sharp Bet US mobile platform is easy with full betting options. So follow my lead and get on your phone, online and social sports betting partner with integrity and longevity like I did. BETUS. You bet, you win, you get paid. So go to severemma.com/BETUS. Joining up, you'll get 125% sign up bonus with the code SEVEREMMA. severemma.com/BETUS. Go there. Check it out. US and Canada. Right, Graeme, let's get straight into it. Also, if you heard any like weird mic settings there in the intro, I think I have it fixed now. It should be okay. But anyway, let's get into it. Bellator Dublin. It was a wild night. It was a big night for Irish mixed martial arts. I know you were in the crowd, and I think that's where we need to start, because the crowd stole the show, really. You know, sometimes in previous cards, like McGregor stole the show, or maybe a Gallagher stole the show, or Quilly in the past stole the show. but it was the crowd, and I think people getting back, you know, to reality, I suppose, in a little bit of a way anyway. That was the story of Friday night. You were in the middle of it. How did it feel to be in there, in the madness?
Yeah, it's a brilliant atmosphere. You know, we talked about it pre-fight in the podcast and how the atmosphere is, and maybe some people who haven't really, you know, been to an Irish kind of, you know, it's hard to pick up on TV how actually loud it is. But I think Bellator did a good job this time. But obviously in the crowd it is much louder, and you know, Irish fans really get behind their own, but they also, you know, appreciate good fighting. And I think, you know, obviously it didn't go really the Irish way in terms of results for the most part, but I think it was a big night, an important night for Irish MMA to get back on track, and kind of irrelevant of the kind of main results.
Yeah, I think that's the story of it. We'll get into results and all of that in a second, and kind of what it means and all, but I think just this week I was kind of, you know, when we were previewing the show and we were talking about it, I think we were saying about like how people, just to get out of the house basically, are going to really enjoy it and really go mad and really, you know, get up for it. And they did. I remember like the crowd were slow enough coming in, you know, compared to maybe the
first couple of fights where it was half full. We're kind of used to seeing, you know, first fight of the night, but there was big queues outside to get in and stuff as well, and there was construction going on around it. And you know, I was trying to go in entrance 2, and we were sent the wrong way by the security and stuff. So there was a lot of kind of mess going on outside of people actually getting in. There was a lot of people queuing outside even before the event had started. So I think that might have played a big part in kind of the late entrance. People
were getting checked with like IDs, and you have to have your COVID cert. So it wasn't just, you know, normally you go up to an event, you show the ticket and you get in. You have to show a ticket, you have to show a COVID cert. I had to show an ID. I don't know, did everyone have to do that or not? Maybe it was just the media, but I saw people having to show a COVID cert and things outside as well. It just took a long time for people to get in. But my kind of point was, it was loud for the first fight. You know, Stephen Costello came out, and I remember looking up, I was like, oh Jesus, not, you know, we're kind of not used to this, I suppose, for the crowd, because usually, you know, maybe there's an SPG versus Rhino fight first, and there's like the SPG gym section where maybe there's, you know, 500 people,
family and friends,
and then there's the same for the Rhino, and both those sections are going mad, but you can kind of pick out those sections. But this time it was like the whole crowd were kind of going up for it. Maybe the 2,000 that were there, maybe, or whatever at that stage, maybe a little bit more, but you know, it ended up filling up then. But it definitely had the vibe of people being mad up for it, and I think that was the kind of the main part of the main story of the night. It's just, the crowd is amazing, and people have often talked about the Irish crowds being the best crowds in the world, but I think it's hard to deny it after a night like that last night. It was just unbelievable. It was amazing, and it was great to be back in it. And you know, I just kind of looking up at it sometimes, it's like, Jesus Christ, it's been so long. It's been a rough fucking 2 years for everyone, you know. I don't care if for us sitting here in front of this fucking microphone that works half the time, or if you're at home, you know, listening to this, or if you're one of the, you know, the 9,500 people or whatever it was in the crowd, or the people fighting in the cage. It's been a tough fucking time for everyone, and I think people kind of let loose a little bit on Friday night in a very good way. There was no fucking trouble or anything like that. And even after the fights, what I loved was when Patchy Mix got a bit of a cheer, you know, and when Pitbull got a bit of a cheer. And, you know, when there was like an armbar attempt and the people were cheering.
That's what I was saying earlier. It's not just like, you know, 100% behind the Irish guys and we hate the other guys. There's definitely a bit of that, but there's definitely, you know, respect for good technique and good fights. And, you know, for good fighters, you know, Irish fans are kind of, I'd say most of the 9,000 or 9,500 Irish fans there are pretty clued in on, like, you know, Bellator over the years, and they appreciate, you know, how big of a fight that was for Quilly and you know, against Pitbull. And although they obviously were hugely on Quilly's side, there was that respect afterward, which is nice to see as well, you know, because Pitbull came in, fought a good fight, and, you know, he won fair and square. So it's good to show him that a bit of appreciation. And, you know, it's not an easy place to come in, and we talked about it before. You know, it's a hostile atmosphere. There was like, Patchy mentioned himself in the post-fight interview. There's a big adrenaline dump from that, and that can play into the difficulty of the fight. So yeah, it's good to see the Irish fans really support their guys and also appreciate the other opponent fighters. I think that's kind of a lot of people had a bad taste in their mouth after, or didn't like the kind of reaction of the fans in the Jose Aldo and Conor World Tour, the way they kind of disrespected Aldo. It's all like, warfare and all that, but I think people thought like this guy's been around for a long time. He's achieved a lot. He deserves kind of a bit of respect. So, maybe Irish fans might have a bit of a bad name because of that, but I think if you actually go to Irish MMA events and kind of, you'll see what we're talking about, that there is a lot of respect, and obviously they want their guys to win, but they do appreciate good martial arts, even if it goes against the hometown guy.
Yeah, I literally couldn't agree more. And like there's I suppose there's been like little bits of negativity and stuff on the past before about certain aspects of the crowds and stuff, but last night, or Friday night, sorry, was insane. It's now like Sunday evening. I still feel like it's last night. I haven't slept much, but it was great. I remember before or after one of the Bellator events. I remember myself and Andrew did a podcast here. It wasn't that long ago, but he popped on because he was at the event too, and we discussed it. I remember he was kind of saying, there was people from all over the country and different places, and it was like the most widespread crowd ever at an event, and he was dead right. And I think it was the same the last time. But I also think, as I mentioned briefly a second, it was the most educated. Like when you see someone, changing a position to get into a slightly better position, that most people wouldn't have a clue what that means, watching at home. And the crowd go, like in a unit of 9,000 people, like, Jesus Christ, that's a very, very well-educated crowd. And it absolutely was. And I think there is a little bit of like the McGregor era fans that were only McGregor fans have kind of faded away a bit, and maybe the scene is smaller in terms of fans, but I think it's bigger in terms of like hardcore fans who have stuck to it and became fans maybe through the McGregor era. Now maybe they still are McGregor fans, and maybe they're not anymore, and they're just fans of MMA or whatever it might be, or maybe they're a John Jones fan or a Cameron Usman fan, which we get to later on, whatever it might be. But I think there was always a fan base of, going back to UFC 93 who filled the stadium, but I feel like to do it for a Bellator card like this, it was absolutely huge, and it was fantastic. And I coming into the week, I wasn't sure what the fan base would be like, or how full the place would be. Now, I looked on Ticketmaster, and, I think all bar maybe 600 or 700 tickets were full. On the night, it looked like maybe there was only 200 that hadn't been sold, which is, basically a sellout. So I knew it'd be good, but I didn't think it'd be, I didn't know for sure that it'd be that amazing and the crowd would be up for it. I thought it would be, but they weren't, and you couldn't say a bad word about the crowd. And even myself walking around and the other people there, people coming up to you and saying hello and saying thanks very much, and just the positivity was, honestly, I couldn't believe it. I honestly couldn't believe it. People are so nice, and, I think, fair play to all the lads this week, Andrew and Ian and Quilly and Jake and Harry and yourself, and, everyone, probably leaving someone out now on Severe May, who's done an absolutely fantastic job this week, and I'm very proud of the team. But I think the people appreciate it as well, and I heard that, and I really appreciate it as well. But the one negative thing I think from the week for me, and we'll get into the fights and stuff too, because like there are a little bit of positives and negatives there. But look, you win and you lose in MMA, and that's the game, and we will get to that. But I thought like the media scene was smaller than I've ever seen it before, and like, I know Ariel kind of mentioned on the MMA Hour this week, like Ireland has the best media scene, and I think we have over the years. It's been fantastic, and I'm not saying that it's bad now, but there was very little people there. Like, I know the guys from the Energize show were there on the night, and they're a media day, and they're fully made, they're gas made, and I think they're doing a great job to support him as well, without a shadow of a doubt, and support everyone in Irish MMA media, not just Severe MMA. But they put us into like a small room on the Wednesday for the media day, and like there wasn't the radio channels there like there was back in the day. I think there was one newspaper there with two people. There was lads from Energized, and there was one or two others, and that was it. For a world title fight in Dublin on Thursday morning, showed up for the weigh-ins for like if you don't make weight for the title fight, there's going to be no title fight. You know, that's big. These weigh-ins mean something. It's not just their normal weigh-ins. Do you know how many?
Why do you think that is?
1 second. Do you know how many outlets showed up?
3, 2,
1. Severe MMA. Myself and Quilly showed up. There was no other outlet there. Nobody else showed up. No other media member showed up. There was Bellator over there, yeah, and the Virgin Media were there, and Nathan did a good job. He's fantastic, Nathan, from Virgin Media, but he's, you know, broadcast partners. There was no one there. And that was, to me, was the most shocking part. It was like, the Irish MMA media scene has, apart from the people I mentioned, and of course there's one or two more without a shadow of a doubt, but the scene that was there years ago is seemingly gone. You know, it just doesn't really exist anymore. And to get people, you know, emailing you and saying, oh, how do I become an MMA media member? How can I work for Severe MMA and all of that? I'm not hearing that half as much anymore. And I kind of all came home to roost. You know, you still had a few lads turning up on Friday to get a free ticket to watch the fights, you know, and doing absolutely nothing there. But like, and look, some people showed up and just for Friday because they were working or whatever and did stuff there as well. So I'm not calling anyone out or anything, but there was the scene. I don't know. I don't know. And what were you going to say? I don't know. Why
do you think that is? I don't know. You know, obviously it's not a game. An MMA media is not a game where you can make a lot of money or any money.
Yeah, but I think people know that though. Like, how long did we go without?
Did people know that when they first, you know, when the first kind of Conor explosion happened? Did people know that then, or did they think, oh, I can make a career out of this, and then they realized that it's very difficult. You know, there's very little shows in Dublin. You got to pay for your own travel, hotels, all that stuff. It isn't an easy, you know, circus to follow. You know what I mean?
Or maybe it's the fact that the media in Ireland is already established and it's harder to break in. Maybe that's it. But I don't know. I honestly, like, I was a little bit worried, to be honest, and I was like, it's a pity because, like, you like to see the next people coming through, and you like to see them coming to the shows and see the same faces and different things. And, you know, it was great to see Quilly there. It was great to see Andy there, and they did a fantastic job. But and maybe I'm, you know, maybe because we kind of took him over to Severe MMA, that's a bit unfair. So maybe there was more than they are with Severe MMA and all. But yeah, I don't know. That was the one thing really that was.
We just snapped up all the.
We snapped up all the talent. Yeah. We're the fucking the Man City U team of Irish MMA media. Yeah, but I just feel like. Back in the day, you did it because you loved the sport. You know, I started writing about the sport. I kind of fell into it because I loved the sport, because I was a fan of the sport. Like, where are those people now? Like, there was 9,000 people there the last day, and I guarantee you not all of them were watching it back at UFC 93 or were watching, you know, UFC, you know, 97 or UFC 10 or whatever it might be.
Maybe it was like what I did, where people just were like, here, I'm going to go and drink and enjoy this crowd instead of actually working as media. But I think maybe that's wishful thinking. Yeah. I don't know. I
think there's an issue as well, though, that, you know, because of Conor McGregor and because of kind of the reputation he has now in Ireland and on Irish media, that outlets are just not covering it because they associate MMA with Conor McGregor and they don't want to be associated with Conor McGregor. Like, I know
they do. They want to put Conor McGregor in every headline still, you know what I mean? In most of these places.
Like, off the ball, they had John Kavanagh on, I think, during the week, and they had Brian Moore on maybe 6 months ago, but they used to be going to the events. You know, I remember Colin Parkinson, when he was working for him, was there. Owen Sheehan was there, I think, at the last one or two ago, maybe. Maybe they were there on Friday. I didn't see it, but they weren't there at media day during the week. And there was, like, I remember I used to always be on Game On and on 2FM. I haven't got a call from them in probably 2 years at this stage. It's just, and like, this is a Bellator title fight, lightweight title fight in the main event here. James Gallagher's coming back. This is a big fight night, you know, and that scene has definitely died away without a shadow of a doubt. And, you know, that was, but anyway, maybe we're concentrating too much on that, and we'll talk more about that. But let's get into the fights a little bit. So I suppose, look, it was a pretty deflating final, you know, 2 fights on Friday night, and it was always a possibility that it'd go that way. And I asked Peter Quilly about it in the pre-fight. It's like, what if Pedro loses? What if James loses? What's it going to be like for you? And now Pedro won and James lost, so maybe it was a bit of a 50-50 run for him. But James had just lost before that as well, and the crowd were kind of deflated. But they came back again when Zombie came on, and Quilly had that, but it was immediate deflation, I think, afterwards as well. What was it like being in the crowd? Like, the silence was kind of deafening afterwards, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was definitely the crowd definitely had to kind of pick themselves back up again for the Quilly fight, as you said. But having Zombie as your walk in and kind of did the job pretty quickly, pretty well. Obviously, James's fight was kind of disappointing for the fans, but I think, even though I thought James could win this fight, or it was a 50-50 fight, I think, as you said, everybody kind of knew there was a decent possibility that James would lose that fight. It wasn't like a huge kind of upset loss, even though obviously the fans were disappointed. But, what can you do? Quilly's, as you said, knew this was a possibility in MMA. Anything can happen, but I think as he said, you just got to put it out of your head and just concentrate on what you're doing and go. You can't really worry about other people's results, even if they are close friends of yours. If they win or if they lose, you kind of, I think John Kavanagh said in the past, if you win or lose, just don't come back into the dressing room, either way, just kind of stay away and let the people concentrate in their fight. So I'm sure Quilly's been in this position before where he's been on cards and teammates have lost before. So obviously he'd be disappointed and the crowd are disappointed, but I think everybody was able to pick themselves up. I don't think James losing before played any part in the Quilly fight, really.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. Let's talk about James first and that fight. I think the general consensus now, I'm not giving my opinion here, but the general consensus of people I spoke to after the fight said that James looked way better, that he looked better on the feet, that he looked slicker, that he was hitting better. What did you think from up in the gantry watching it?
Yeah, I think there was definitely improvements to his game, his striking, especially. Obviously his grappling and wrestling have always been pretty good. I think, he's obviously been around a long time. We've been following him a long time, but he still is very young and he still is learning, and he just moved to a new camp. So I think we can expect more improvements. But I think, he didn't look like a completely new fighter or anything, but I think he definitely, added some kind of roundedness to his striking, and his defensive striking looked a little bit better. He looked a little bit more confident on the feet maybe than before in the past. So, I think it was positive signs for James. Obviously, it's a loss, and he'll have things to go back and look at and improve on. Even if he had a won, he's still young, he's still improving, he's still working with these coaches for the first time. So, it's a loss, but it's not like in boxing where it's all over for James. Like James will definitely be back better than ever.
Yeah, I agree. I think he'll be back, and I think he's in a good place to improve. The one thing I would say about James's improvements and how he looked on the feet are, I don't think, look, unless James went out there and jabbed the face off Patchy Mix and knocked him out in a round or two, I actually don't think it was a great fight to show those improvements, just because of the way Patchy Mix fights. Like, I think, and I said this before coming in, I think it kind of played out that way. I think James is maybe a little bit underrated, and I think Patchy is a little bit overrated, maybe. And that's why I thought the line was a little bit off.
I might have underrated, I think I underrated Patchy Mix's
ground game. Oh, I didn't. Yeah, I knew that was good. As a striker, though. Yeah.
I knew it was good. Yeah, as a striker, I don't think he, it definitely doesn't match up with his ground game. But I think I did underestimate Patchy's jiu-jitsu. I thought, like, if James was to get like a choke, like he went for the guillotine, I thought he'd be able to finish that. We've seen him finish loads of the fights in the similar manner, but in fairness to Patchy, he toughed it out and reversed the position, spent most of the grappling exchanges not dominating but winning. So I think maybe you think he's overrated as an all-round fighter, but I think maybe I underestimated his grappling ability.
Yeah, I don't think he's over. Look, his grappling is fantastic. I think it is. I don't think his striking is that good. I think he's dangerous because he's kind of a powerful guy and he's powerful takedowns and things like that. But I think James, like, the one issue with James when you're fighting someone like Patchy Mix, who tries to stay safe on the feet and throws like those big support hooks over the top, is like James, I don't think is the most athletic guy in the world in terms of like speed or power. Now, when he gets to the ground, I think he's very nimble and he's very intelligent. He does all the right things and he can move well there. I think it'll take a long time to become a technical striker if that's the way James Gallagher's going. And I hope that's the way he's going, because your point as well about looking better defensively, that was the biggest thing for me. I don't think it was a great fight to show the offensive improvements, but I think in any fight you could show the defensive improvements on the feet, and I think he definitely did that. There was definite signs of improvement, but I don't agree with the people who are saying, oh, James Gallagher's like a new striker, and because James Gallagher wasn't a terrible striker before even, so I haven't gone back and watched a good bit. It's weird. Maybe the things I'm saying are hard for people to pick out, but if you listen to the podcast before and listen to this podcast, maybe they make a little bit more sense. But there were signs of improvement for James, but I don't think it was a blowaway like improvement because of the opponent more so than anything. But having said that, Patchy on the ground is fantastic. James on the ground is fantastic as well. And it was one of those fights that, as I tweeted last week about a fight that was more guillotines and fucking Napoleon, and this was one of those. It was just non-stop guillotine after guillotine after guillotine. It's as well, where I was at, it was very hard to watch the whole fight, so I haven't gone back and watched it yet, but from being there close to it, it looked like one of those fights where I didn't think there was going to be a finish, because they were kind of evenly matched on the ground, and it was going to be a fucking nightmare to score for the judges, because there was a lot of stuck in the guillotine kind of rounds where, right, is that guillotine effective?
Yeah, how close is it? It's hard to know sometimes.
Yeah. It's like, how do you score that? Do you score that as an effective submission maneuver or not? Because he's not getting the finish, and for James and for Patchy. So it was a tough fight. It was a close fight. It was very interesting. Patchy said afterwards they're going to meet again, and honestly I wouldn't be surprised if they did. But look, with James Gallagher, there's always going to be an extra bit of opinion because it's James Gallagher, But if you're to look at this as a fighter, he rose up in level, as James Krause said afterwards on Instagram, and it was a relatively even fight, So if you're looking at someone who's 13 fights into their career against someone who's 16 fights into their career, a relatively even fight, one wins, let's move on and see how both of them improve. Like, I put up on Twitter the other day, like someone said, this is Irish MMA kind of dying, I suppose. And I was like, if you're expecting success all the time in MMA, you're in the wrong fucking sport. Now, like, I was talking to Philip O'Connor, who was one of the great media members actually, who came over and to write a story about it on it was a Thursday night, and he was kind of coming over, and he said to me, he's like writing a story about like the rebirth of Irish MMA, and I was like, Jesus, I don't know if this is the best time to do this. These lads have two fucking tough fights. Like, the two of these lads in the top two could lose, and they ended up doing that. And he looked at me afterwards, and he's like, well, look, that's sport, I suppose. And it is sport. Like, we look at fights, sometimes, look, if you're Frankie Edgar last night, we'll get to him, and you've won championships, it's like 11 years since you won a title, and you're looking old as fuck, and you lose badly to someone who shouldn't be on your level, then absolutely, you can start talking about retirement, you can start talking about he's not that anymore. When you're someone like James Gallagher, and you've had 13 fights, and you're fucking 24 years of age, or you're Peter Quilly, and this is your first real move your first real move into big fights with the two fights against Patricky. It's not like it's over. It's not like you can't keep improving. It's not like you can't come back. And losses happen. Losses are going to happen in MMA. This is not fucking boxing where you can have 50 fights in a row.
A couple of years ago, Quilly lost to Joe McColgan, who was outside of Irish MMA, was completely unknown. And, look at him now. Quilly's in, as you said, two, obviously Pitbull, he fought twice. He's in two of the biggest fights you can get in Bellator, and one for a title. So in MMA, a lot can change very quickly, and losses here and there don't necessarily define you like they do maybe in boxing.
I think we'll get to Queenie, but I think it'll be interesting to see what James Gallagher does next. Like he said, his partner is pregnant as well, and he said he's staying over in America before the fight. I'd be interested to see what happens if that is the case, or if he comes back to SBG, or if he does a bit of both, or it does seem like he is set on America and James Krause, but we'll see how that works. But for Patchy, he moves on as well and moves towards the title run. He did miss weight as well. We must mention that. And he looked really bad on the scale. He was walking around limping afterwards. I think he was probably limping a bit before as well, but he wasn't making any excuses or anything like that. And like I said, I don't know, did you see it, Graeme, over in our group? But I heard that the people were quarantining from Sunday. I'm like, well, wait for the fights to fall out, wait for the weight misses, and a couple of fights did fall out. We'd only one weight miss miraculously, but yeah, I think that was always going to happen. And you know, you can have sympathy for James without a shadow of a doubt, because Patchy did miss weight, but in the fight itself it was a fair fight, and Patchy mixing it out, winning, and James Gallagher came out afterwards and he was very magnanimous about it. But look, we'll talk more about that fight anyway. And then look, the main event, Peter Quilly against Patricky Pitbull. I thought, to be honest, look, the walkout was unbelievable. Patricky was kind of smiling as he came out, and I was looking at him. It was kind of dark when Quilly was walking out.
He had his earphones on. To try and drown out. I think, to not be affected by the crowd.
I don't think that's possible, to be honest. I honestly don't think it's possible. Like, even the James walkout was unbelievable. You know, Patchy had said, I've been in bigger, better crowds than this. He fucking hasn't been in better crowds than it. No way. But I kind of saw Patricky was smiling a little bit as Quilly was coming out. You know, I asked him before the fights, and he said that he liked that song, that he'd enjoy it, and I think he kind of did a little bit. And the fight started that way as well. I thought Quilly looked very nervous at the start, and he I think he said that himself on Twitter. Or maybe I'm mixing up with Garry, but I thought he did look nervous. But when he came out for the second, I thought he looked better. You know, I thought he looked less nervous. I thought he started throwing his shots, and then we had the eye poke, which, you know, maybe I'm showing a bit of Irish bias here now. Grand, I'm going to say it anyway, but because I genuinely think this. Like, I think Patricky he did the right thing by trying to let get his eye free out. There was definitely an eye poke there, and he rubbed the shirt on it, but he definitely took enough time to kind of get his cardio back a little bit, because this was a fight that, if it had gone long, I think it would have come down to that. And he took that time, and then he came out and he hurt Quilly almost immediately. That's
smart fighting, obviously Quilly committed the fouls. He had the chance. He can milk that, and that's good experience. Yeah.
Without a shadow of a doubt. And I'm not criticizing him too much for it, but it was a part of it, and I definitely think it played into this. But it was one of those ones where Quilly, it was a shot, I was right behind it and I was looking right at it, and I still didn't even fucking see it. It was one of those shots you'd hardly see. It came out of nowhere, and Quilly got rocked by it, and he tried his best to get back, but some people were giving out about the stoppage. There was booze for a second, I think. It was a good stoppage. There's absolutely no doubt about that. He was really badly hurt. He couldn't defend himself. And he was kind of, when you have that kind of turn to the cage and your head is right there to be punched, you have to stop it. And I think the referee did a good job there. But I don't know, it was funny. Patricky was asked afterwards about the trilogy. And I know the first fight was a bit weird the way it ended, but usually when it is 1-1, I think most people would be like, oh yeah, and he kind of just didn't answer the question, or someone asked.
He said, I want to go to the pub, but that's his answer. It's like, all right.
Yeah, the problem is, like, it was Conor McGregor there was one of these dummies who were fucking asking Jake Paul questions there, and he was asking, oh, what about Conor McGregor? And then he didn't even answer the fucking question. But, so I don't know. I don't think it'll happen immediately, but I wouldn't be surprised if Quilly goes in there and gets another win. I could see that fight happening. Like, Quilly versus Benson Henderson, I think it'd be a good fight. Benson Henderson just lost, Quilly just lost. I think that fight makes sense if they're coming back in February.
Benson talked about wanting to fight in Ireland.
He did, yeah.
So, yeah, he says he wants to be in exciting fights. He wants to be in big fights. I think, he'd probably be interested in that fight, and I'm sure Quilly would as well.
Yeah. Let's make that up. But congratulations, Patchy. He was he was one of those lads that seemed absolutely Patchy. Yeah, sorry. God, it was so confusing this week. But anyway, he
Patchy.
It was the worst. He seemed to really enjoy Ireland, and he really seemed to enjoy the fans. And there's a large Brazilian population here, and you could hear him saying "Vamoya," as he was fighting, and in the Irish crowd were like trying to go with the hoop. There it is, as they were singing it as well. It was fantastic. There was a good bit of banter going on in the crowd as well, and it was brilliant. It was a great night, and like, obviously he got the kind of the adulation of the crowd in afterwards, a little bit anyway, as did Patchy Mix after the fight. So very respectful and absolutely great stuff there. And look, Irish MMA, it's had great years. It had the 5 winners at UFC Dublin. It had Liam McCourt winning in the main event. It's had James Gallagher winning in the main event. We see that even in the Cage Warriors one, where we had Ian Garry winning, and Rhys McKee winning, and John McColgan, and probably John Mitchell, and probably forgetting a few more. All winning. Great nights in Irish MMA. This was a great night in Irish MMA too, right? And don't get that twisted. People can lose, and they lost fair and square, both lads. But it was still a great night in Irish MMA. There was great fucking fights. great fun, great crowd. The scene is strong, and long may it continue. Because it's not always going to be fucking sunshine and roses. So, fair play to them. Right, let's run down through the rest of the card, because this podcast is probably going to be 6 hours if we don't. Pedro Carvalho, Daniel Wojciech, very fucking close fight, I thought.
Very good comeback. It looked at one stage that Pedro was done, and he was getting hit. He wasn't really moving his head very well, and Wojciech was landing, but he toughed it out. I think he said in the post-fight scrum to us that maybe he wouldn't have been able to tough it out if he didn't have the kind of crowd on it behind him, giving him that extra push, giving him that extra energy, and he really kind of harnessed it. And it was a really, really close second round, but the judges, gave him the unanimous decision. And I don't think many people, you could argue either way. It went either way, but I don't think it was a robbery or anything like that. You can definitely have your opinion on the second round. It was very close. Like, both guys were hurt, I think, at various stages, but yeah, it was a really good fight. Wojciech's obviously been around for forever. He's a very big win for Pedro, the biggest win in Pedro's career so far. So obviously he's been in a title shot before, but I think this is the biggest win of his career, and hopefully he can kind of make his way back towards the title contention.
Yeah, I thought, as someone kind of watching it cage side who was uploading videos and typing and stuff at the same time, I thought Wojciech had done enough to win, but respect the judges, and they got the decision. I'm sure they got it right. I haven't had the chance to watch it back, but it was one of those fights very, very close. And I think Pedro this week has really emerged as someone who was. I remember I tweeted maybe 2 years ago that, is Pedro Carvalho the best active Irish fighter in the world? With Conor McGregor not around. And, maybe he is, maybe he isn't, but I think this was his first fight fighting in the Tree Arena. And I think this week, and it had the fight itself, I think he kind of emerged as a fan favourite. He spoke very well. Like, I asked him afterwards, what was it like to be the last Irish man to win, the last person representing Ireland to win on the Tree Arena night. And he was so proud, of coming to Ireland and getting off the bus right in front of the Tree Arena and saying, I'm going to fight there one time. And, a proud Portuguese man, but also very, very proud to represent Ireland, and it's, it was fantastic to see. It was great, and he spoke very well. Great interview with Andy. Even, it's not all about the fight. If you haven't seen it yet, go over to Severe MMA and watch it. It was absolutely fantastic, and he seems like a great guy, and it was great to see him win. Daniel Wojciech spoke well this week as well, so he's a very, very good fighter. It's good to see him fighting on Irish soil, and I'd say the same about Patchy Mixit and Patricky Pitbull. But yeah, other than that, Elias Buliad and George Sasu had an even enough fight, a split decision win for Buliad there. Even enough matchup. Sasu, I thought, did better on the feet maybe than people were expecting, but Buliad goes to 3-0 there. Kieran Clark, a close fight until he got the finish with only 50 seconds or 49 seconds left. What you think of this one, Graeme? He took some shots, it was back and forth, this was a wild one, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a tougher fight than I expected for Kieran. Obviously, he got the rear naked choke finish, as you mentioned, but he definitely didn't have it all his own way. He took some big shots. He kind of tried to make it dirty and then a bit of a scrap, and I think that kind of worked for him in the end and led to him getting the finish. Obviously, he's 4-0 now. He's still young in his career. He's still working his way up to some good. It's a good win. You can look at that win and go back to the gym and improve on things, and also keep your pro record undefeated. So, I think it was a very good night for the development of Kieran Clark. Yeah,
100%. That's one that'll definitely stand to him. Daniel Scatizzi as well got an unanimous decision win over Brian High. Almost got knocked out with a head kick. I was right behind that head kick, and I was like, oh shit, as it landed. It was one of those. I thought he was gone, but he didn't. So a good win there for Scatizzi. Lee Chadwick and Androvic's split decision win there. Sakaram got like a fucking 15-second knockout over Charlie Milner, who came in looking like fucking me with a big fat belly on him. And good decision, a good win for Gokhan. He looked an absolute animal, but it wasn't the toughest matchup in the world, let's be honest here. Nicholas Seolia against Bobby Pallett. This was one of the ones I didn't see all of it, so maybe you would be better, someone else would be better than me, because I was out doing the Danny Nealon scrum, so I missed some of this, but a split decision, a close fight. The night started off then with Steve Costello lost by a heel hook to Yusuf there in the first one, and then Danny Nealon against Audrey Cruz. Probably the most dominant win for an Irish person. Danny looked absolutely fantastic. She just dominated from start to finish. Now, I don't think Cruz is the best fighter in the world, and Danny kind of said that in the interview afterwards as well. But 5-0 now. I'm just looking at the awards there during the week and kind of starting to get them going now before Christmas. Danny Nealon might be up there as like the emerging Irish prospect of the year. She looked very good, dominant here, wasn't she?
Yeah, sorry, the dogs are barking in the background here, but yeah, she's kind of worked her way up, steadily but surely, and pretty much dominated all of her fights, and that continued in Dublin. And she could have easily kind of won the decision and just played it safe, but she went for the finish. And
have you a license for them dogs, for fuck's sake?
Yeah, I know they're going mad in the background.
Is it
here.
The fireworks?
I think they've stopped now. Somebody was at the door, so whenever somebody's at the door, they lose their minds.
Yeah, poor old dog. Do you still have that one? Is it a Pomeranian, or am I gone mad?
Yeah, he's a mix between a Pomeranian and a Spitz.
I remember I came into your house one day and I was dying to go to the toilet, and I didn't realise he was there, and he jumped up and he was like, "Oh, Jesus Christ, I'm going to shit myself." he's a mad dog, that lad. He's a great man. But anyway, yeah, back to Danny Nealon. I think, yeah, what you said there, she looks good everywhere. She called out Valerie Leda as well afterwards and everything like that. Also, she said, I'm her favourite Irish MMA media member. So, like, Danny Nealon, I don't know. Apparently, she said to Ian that we say her name wrong. So maybe it's Danny Nealon. Is it Danny? I'm not sure. She'll have to tell us. But anyway,
as her biggest fan, I can't believe you don't know.
Yeah, I should know. I think I don't know. I'll have to get like a voice note or something to 100%. But I know she'll be listed anyway. She's signed up to Patreon. She's a big fan of everything there, so I really appreciate it. And I must get her on to co-host the show, maybe even, and we'll talk a bit of shite about MMA. But yeah, honestly, even all that aside, one of the standout performances here, and what a great time for women's MMA in Ireland. And let's get onto it. We might as well transition over to that, because
well, I think Danny's kind of shown that, like, doing the IMMAFs and doing your time on the amateur scene really stands to you. A lot of people are in a rush to get, turn pro, get their first pro fight, get paid, and they're in a rush to get the Cage Warriors or Bellator or the UFC. But, I think, all this experience, all these camps, all these, big nights and improvements you can see from looking back at your fights. I think these are all like huge things that
Absolutely.
People are kind of too easy to kind of try and bypass, which, they really do stand to you, these experiences. And if you can get them without blemishing your pro record, then I think you should jump at that chance. Obviously, some people don't have a lot of money and want to get that pro money, but for your career as a long-term objective, I think, sticking it out in amateur and going over to one of these IMMAF World Championships is a really good decision, and it's really shown and stood to Danny
Nealon. Yeah.
I was going to say Nealon, but then I was like, I better not fuck up her name, so I'll just say Danny. then I said neither.
She said afterwards, actually, she's like, 2 more fights, get to 7-0, and didn't see where we're kind of going. And I asked her, because look, it's weird, at the Bellator press conference, I asked her, would she like to go to the UFC? Which I got a few dirty looks off the Bellator PR guys, and I apologise, but I had to ask it because they don't have a strawweight division in Bellator. And look, they've done a great job getting her fights, and she's 5-0 to even let her go out and get a fight. I think she was out in Germany. I think she was talking about getting to 7-0 and didn't see where she goes. Like, I think she could go to the UFC. Like, Danny could hang in the UFC at 115. Especially in 2 or 3 fights, and she seems to be on that path of getting fights, as you mentioned, getting experience, getting the cam, getting the weight cut down to the right, the perfect kind of place and the perfect timing and all of that. And once you get to that 7-8 fights, she said she's getting on. She's only 31. She's not that old. She's younger than fucking me and you anyway. But I think Danny is a prospect. Look, we talked about Danny before she made her pro debut, but she's a prospect we're really going to have to start paying attention to now. And, she's coming through, and she's, as I mentioned, great time for women's MMA in Ireland. Leah doing fantastic. She's up there ranked. Danny, Aisling Daly back in the day, Catherine Costigan. Dee Begley, I think, is fighting against is she fighting? No, I don't think she's fighting Shauna Bannon, but there's someone else. I think Dino Wade's daughter is fighting Shauna Bannon. I don't know. But there's loads of great. I think Kaya Sullivan, she's fantastic as well. I mentioned Dee and everyone like that doing fantastic. But Chris Cyborg, and Sinead Kavanagh next week. We have to get onto that next. Oh my God, we're talking about biggest fights in Irish MMA history. Conor McGregor aside, we quickly move from one to another one, because here we go. We had a bad night last week, on Friday anyway. We had a good night Saturday. We'll get to that in a second. But we've a chance for the greatest upset in Irish MMA history, without a shadow of a doubt. Without a shadow of a doubt. If Sinead Kavanagh wins this against Chris Cyborg. I spoke to her a couple of weeks ago. I spoke to her again this week because she did a Bellator had her there for a media day. And she seemed extremely emotional. You know, she seemed fucking bang up for it. I was even talking to her kind of privately afterwards as well. She said, I'm not afraid of Cyborg. You know, I'm not fucking afraid of her. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to fight my fight. And, you know, if she does, okay, you can call me biased. She has a chance. Who do I think will win? I think Cyborg will win. I think she'll probably end up taking her down. I think she'll probably land some ground and pound. You know, but Sinead Kavanagh, okay, she's a 7-4 MMA record. If you look at some of those four, she probably should be closer to maybe 10-1 or maybe even 11-0. You know, looking at some of them, because she had cuts and she had split decision and everything like that. But Sinead Kavanagh can box. You know, please, I implore anyone listening to this, go over and listen to my interview I did with her on Sherlock, and listen to the one on Severe MMA too with the scrum. But her story is insane. You know, Sinead Kavanagh was homeless, winning Irish national boxing championships, fighting against the likes of Katie Taylor and Kelly Harrington, who were Olympic gold medalists, world champions. You know, she had a child when I think she was 17, and the father of her child died, and then her aunt and uncle died in a car crash, and she became homeless, and her mother, you know, she had issues, and she fought through all of that. She transitioned over from boxing. John Kavanagh was a fantastic help to her. And she's fighting for a world title against fucking Chris Cyborg. Like, this woman does not give up. This is a tough fucking woman. And that's what you need against Chris Cyborg, you know. And she's a winner no matter if she wins or loses on Saturday night, in my book anyway. But what a fucking fight. What an opportunity for Sinead Kavanagh. And I can't wait to see it. You know, I'm fully biased in this one. I won't even say it. But are you looking forward to it, Graeme? I'm nearly tearing up here. So you fucking start talking there. Go on.
Yeah, it's definitely it's a huge fight for Sinead. It's the biggest fight of her career. Obviously, you mentioned a couple of most recently Leslie Smith was a majority decision against her. I think nearly everybody who watched that fight, bar the judges who scored it for Leslie, saw what happened in that fight, and Sinead kind of picked her apart. Obviously, you mentioned her saying she's not afraid of Cyborg. We've heard people say that before. Going into fights, but as you mentioned, Sinead's been in there with the likes of Katie Taylor. I know it's boxing, but she's been in there with the likes of Katie Taylor, Kelly Harrington, these Olympic gold medalists. Obviously, everybody knows about Katie Taylor as a pro as well in boxing. So yeah, she's been in there with some really high level strikers, and obviously Cyborg is a very high level striker. And this is MMA. Cyborg could mix in a few takedowns, but I don't really see Cyborg doing that unless things start going a bit pear-shaped. So Sinead will be happy. She wants to stand and bang. I think Cyborg will back herself to stand and bang, and I think this is going to be a really good fight. Obviously, I haven't seen any odds yet, but I think Cyborg's going to be a pretty sizable favourite, and her long stint at the top and her record and her quality of opponent and her quality of wins and all that stuff, she definitely is the deserved favourite. But I think Sinead is going to offer her a lot of problems here if Cyborg can't get it done early. She's obviously a big knockout artist early, and she's shown that in her career. But I think Sinead's going to be very difficult to knock out, and she's going to give as good as she gets. And I think this is a much tougher fight for Cyborg than maybe it looks on paper, or that people who haven't really been following Sinead's career think it will be. Yeah,
I think most ways this fight goes, I think it'll probably be a domination for Chris Cyborg, right? But if it turns into a technical boxing matchup, it won't be. I think Sinead Kavanagh will give her all she can do if it goes to that. And that's the way Chris Cyborg has been fighting over the last while. She has adjusted her style, training with Jason Perillo for the last 4 or 5 years. And if she does fight like that, Sinead Kavanagh is probably one of the toughest matchups in that round. Now, as I mentioned, I think she will go and try to take her down. If she does that, she'll probably have success. And I think Sinead has improved her takedown defense an awful lot, but Cyborg's a different animal in lots of different ways in lots of different areas, and it'll be very tough for Sinead there. But as I said, if it gets to that, and maybe Chris Cyborg will see Sinead as this great boxer, I'm going to go out and box her and knock her out, and maybe that will happen. But if it gets into a fight like that, I think it'll be fun as shit, and I think people don't really understand how good Sinead Kavanagh actually is in that area, and I think if she got the chance to show it, I think she will go out and show it. But what an opportunity!
You got to look at Chris Cyborg's record, and her only loss basically in recent years is to obviously the pound for pound, pretty undisputed pound for pound best woman of all time, and obviously she got knocked out in the first round there. But that could happen to anybody in a fight with the best woman to ever do it, Amanda Nunes. So she's definitely going to be the favorite for a reason here, and I think she has more kind of methods of victory. But I do think Cyborg will try and strike at least early in the fight, like she always has. She might not go straight in for the knockout like she has in the past. As you said, she's going to become more kind of a technical fighter who's willing to kind of take it long, and she's not just going out there trying to take your head off. So yeah, I think it's definitely a really tough fight for Sinead, but she seems bang up for it, as you said. It's the biggest fight of her life, and if Cyborg comes in here taking Sinead lightly, she could be in for a surprise. But obviously, as you said, I think the heart would love to say Sinead, but the head would have to say that Cyborg is the favourite here.
Yeah, fuck the head, go on the heart. Anyway. Right, I can't wait for that. I gotta be up watching that one. And is it Friday night, Saturday night? Let me look here. It is. Oh, it doesn't say it. Topology for some reason. Anyway, it's next weekend. We'll find out. The rest of that card, I'll be doing a full preview over in Shardag. I can tune in for that. Aaron Pico is on the card. Looking forward to seeing him. Valerie Reda, who we mentioned earlier, is on the card as well. And other than that, not much, to be honest, but let's get to UFC 268, and we're on Irish MMA. We might as well start off with Ian Garry. Moved to 8-0, knocked out Jordan Williams with 1 second left in the first round. I remember after maybe Ian's first fight or maybe second fight, we came out and we did a podcast and we were talking about, he's maybe taking one or two too many shots and he needs to improve on that. And the next interview I did with him, he kind of gave out to me for saying that, and gave out to you as well for giving out about him. But I think we were back at that again. He's taking one or two shots, Graeme. And he said that afterwards as well anyway in the scrum. He knows that. But look, it was a nervous start. There's no doubt about it. And he said
himself, UFC jitters.
Mm-hmm.
Like, some people try to say, there's no UFC jitters, but like we've seen it enough times to know that there is. And obviously, we've seen Ian look a lot more kind of smooth and more
control,
flowy, than before. I think we can definitely believe him on that, just from what he said and from what we know him usually to be like and what he was like in the first few minutes of that fight. But he took a few shots, but he got the job done in spectacular fashion with a walk-off KO. And obviously we got to keep mentioning he's so young in his career. He's only 8-0. This is his first fight in the UFC, and he'll go. It's a great win to have. He can go back and with his coaches and work on the things that went wrong, and he'll have that experience of being in the UFC. And the jitters won't be there as strong the next time, if at all. So yeah, I think he got the job done. He got the finish. He overcame some adversity, but that's good. You're never going to go through through your career without adversity.
No, absolutely. And I think you don't even have to look at past fights to see how comfortable he can be. I think this halfway through the round, he kind of he settled and he was like ducking away from those shots, and he was fighting a good defensive game. If you wiped away the blood and looked at the second half of the fight, you wouldn't even have a question about Ian Garry's game in lots of different ways. But I'm not saying wipe away that. It was definitely an issue and definitely something he needs to look at going forward and improve his game. He's, as he said, 23 years of age, 8-0. But and I think maybe people will compare it to maybe Paddy Pimblett a bit, who kind of got rocked and it was obviously way worse than this and got to finish as well. The difference between, I think, Garry and Pimblett Pimblett has shown long-term that he has deficiencies in his game that he really needs to improve upon. I'm not saying that Garry doesn't have deficiencies in his game or anything, but he hasn't really shown huge deficiencies in his game. He's looked pretty brilliant so far in his career. And it'll take a good fighter maybe to show him if there are any. So we'll see that in the future. But I think maybe people comparing them is a little bit foolhardy, really.
I think the way it worked out is probably good all around.
Yeah.
The UFC probably won't, like, if you had went out there and done that after 30 seconds with a minute, or you had done that at the end of the round with no adversity, where you had dominated the fight, he probably would have been kind of, propelled up the rankings in terms of matchups maybe quicker than, we talk about it all the time. We'd like to see these Irish guys kind of take a slow roll and, not do too much too soon, not take kind of what I'd see an unnecessary risk. But if he had went out and started Jordan Williams like that, and everybody wouldn't talk about him, and it would have been maybe a little bit too much too soon. But obviously he's a very confident guy. He's just moved to a new gym. He's still settling in there. He's still young in his career. He's still a very young guy, 23. There's loads of potential there. I saw some people trying to write him off. It's just ridiculous. But, obviously there is some stuff to work on, but that's to be expected. If you're 8-0, look at any fighter, look at Khabib, look at any of these guys when they're 8-0, they're nowhere near the finished article. So, yeah, I think it worked out, in the end, it worked out well. He has stuff to go back and work on. He got the win. He got the jitters out of the way, all of that stuff. I think it was a great night for Ian Garry overall. Yeah,
and do you know what's no harm either? People probably tweeting at him going, you're fucking shit. You were lucky to get through that one. You took loads of shots. Because you know what he hasn't had? He hasn't had that in Cage Warriors. Because the Cage Warriors...
You shouldn't be mentioning your burner accounts on the podcast.
But you know what I mean? And that's not a thing I've thought of before. But the Cage Warriors fighters have a very supportive fan base, and even the media as well. I think it's very, very supportive, even not just Irish fighters, but the UK, the Welsh and Scottish and English fighters and all. It's really much, it's a very positive scene. And it's a very, because we're looking at the next prospects and you're looking at the best, where they're going to go and seeing, the next star. When you get to the UFC, for a lot of people, you're just the next hype train that's coming through. You're just all hype. You get hit with one shot and you're just a Conor McGregor wannabe. I guarantee you, he's looking at his Twitter this morning or his Instagram and he's seeing that. And that is a test as well. Getting punched in the face and getting your nose bloody is a test. But that mental test as well is a big thing for Ian Garry. And he's a young lad, 23 years of age, and his world has been turned upside down recently in good and bad ways, And that's a thing he's going to have to overcome as well. And, it's as I said, a test. But I have to mention, I mentioned the second half of the fight where Ian Garry kind of came on and came into himself. What a fighter, what a brilliant display in the second half of that fight. What a brilliant knockout, shades of McGregor versus Bushinger with that slip and the shot, and he just goes down, I remember I wrote an article about I think it was before McGregor's pro debut or UFC debut, maybe not, but I remember saying that he blue screened Ivan Bushinger, and that's, I think, what Ian Garry did last night to Jordan Williams as well. He just shut those lights out, and that power was insane. I know he took a couple of shots on the way down, but that fight was done when Ian Garry caught him with that shot. Threw the head kick before it, dragged him in, landed a shot, one shot afterwards, and an absolute brilliant display. Ian Garry is one of the best prospects in the world. Make no mistake about that at all. And it's tough for anyone to be compared to Conor McGregor and be the next, but the way he spoke afterwards, the promo he cut, the performance, it's about as good as you could ever hope for, and even the adversity at the start of the fight, that's good as well. You need that. I remember before his fight against Jack Grant, he's like, I've never been cut, I've never been hit or anything like that. And he got cut in that fight, and he got, bleeding again tonight, and he got fucking hit. He won't deny it. He's denied it before getting hit. He won't deny getting hit last night. And he needs to get hit, because you're not going to go and fight the top 15 or the top 5 or top 1 in the world and not get fucking hit. You need to get hit. You need to be able to prove you can get hit and come through it. And he did that last night. So a fantastic win for Ian Garry. And, the people saying Irish MMA is dead. I don't think they needed to wait too long for a bit of an upsurge again. And, it wasn't dead on Friday night either, before Ian Garry even fought. But, fantastic performance. I said Mickey Gall next. I don't know if Mickey Gall would want to take that fight so much against a guy who's 1-0 in the UFC and a guy who's absolutely brilliant, but I think that makes a world of sense. What do you think of that fight?
Yeah, well, obviously they have a common opponent, and they both beat the opponent Williams. So I think if Garry goes in there and beats Mickey Gall, they could still give him another kind of outside of the top 20 guys. So I think somebody like a Mickey Gall, even if it's not a Mickey Gall, if Mickey Gall doesn't want to fight or isn't in the same kind of time frame for a turnaround or whatever, then you could give him somebody on the level. I think on the level of Gall. I think as I said, I don't want him rushed in. I think he said it himself. I think it was to you in pre-fight, was it? That he's still young in the game.
Yeah.
You did ask, but you asked him, or is he the best guy in the gym? I suppose he is. And he wanted to say, yeah, you could see by him, but he's like, oh no, give me time. You know what I mean? I will be, but give me time. So I think, the slow roll, somebody like a Mickey Gall, somebody like, who's a good fighter, but isn't in the top 15, top 20, I think is the right way to go.
Yeah, indeed, 100%. Just to run through the card pretty quickly as well, there was decision wins for Dustin Jacoby, Masilik Bajarian and Ollie Osborne to start it out. A beautiful wheel kick KO for Chris Barnett. You tried to talk me out of picking John Vellante on the betting show, and you were fucking dead right, I think. But I knew someone would get knocked out. I put a tenner on the knockout of this fight. And I won my money anyway, so what a knockout. Absolutely brilliant.
You gotta send me half, are you?
I gotta send you half, yeah. But I didn't put it on him, I just put on someone to get knocked out, so we were both right in a way. Edmund Shabazian, look, this was stupid matchmaking again, giving him Imavov. They're like, I don't know. Look, we don't have enough time to talk about this today, but like, take the slow roll with Shabazian. He's proven he's not ready and he's not able for that level. And it doesn't matter that there's a number beside his name. Move him back, give him fights, give him 5 fights to build himself back up. He'll get the, 17, 18 fights, and then move him back into that, that wheelhouse. It's just too soon. It was too much. I hate this shit. And people will probably be listening to this and saying, oh, but he's ranked number 11. Edmund Shabazian is not the 11th best middleweight in the world.
The rankings, I don't know why people take them so seriously. Like, if you go, I haven't gone in a long time, but if over the years, if you go and look at the individual votings by the media members, some of them are absolutely insane. So, the rankings.
I don't even think you can look at them anymore. I think they're gone.
Oh, they've hidden that now because it was so bizarre.
Yeah, it was weird.
Yeah, he's on a 3-fight losing skid now. Brunson, Hermanson, and Mamov. It's just bad matchmaking. We said it kind of before the Brunson fight. This is too soon. Hopefully, his confidence isn't too bad, or he hasn't, taken too much damage that he can't turn this around. I think he can turn it around if they give him the right matchmaking, but. I don't know if they will, they don't, like, you thought after the Brunson one they might, after the Hermanson one they might, but they didn't. So as we said before, I said before, in the Joe Silva days, as matchmaker of the UFC, there seemed to be a lot more kind of future planning and thought going into these prospects, but nowadays it doesn't really, the same care doesn't seem to be taken with these prospects. So hopefully, somebody like an Ian Garry will have that care taken with them, unlike Edmund.
Yeah, they'll probably give him fucking Chimaev next now or something. You never know. But anyway, Chris Curtis, what a great comeback.
Chimaev was mentioned by Ian Garry as we'll see him in the future. Mm-hmm. People were saying, I saw people saying, Chimaev would destroy him. It's like, okay, this guy's just one fight into the UFC. He's 23, he's 8 fights in. I know Chimaev, is young in the sport as well, but we don't need to put prospects against each other so early. I don't know why people always want to do that.
Yeah, I think it's good for Ian Garry to have someone like Chimaev to look at. Like, well, your wrestling and your takedown defense is going to have to improve enough that you can beat Chimaev. Like
and Usman and we're down to him obviously.
Indeed, yeah. Well, like look down through the years, Weidman, he was looking at Silva, Connor was looking at Aldo. Everyone's looking at John Jones. That's the way the world looks at, that's the way the cookie crumbles. And Ian Garry mentioned to me years ago that he was looking at Usman and looking at I might not beat him now, and he literally said that, but I will beat him at some stage. So, it'll be interesting. Anyway, as I mentioned, Chris Curtis, great comeback against Phil Hawes, beautiful left hook, real power shot. Phil Hawes just kind of dived at the end. He was so hurt, and he was like, I need this ground to keep me alive. And poor lad, he was fucking serious power by Curtis. A great comeback there. Bobby Green,
it's a lovely jab cross there. Beautiful.
Yeah. Lovely finish. And look, there wasn't much, only that. It was 2 minutes, 25 seconds. Ally Quinta here.
He's not known for Bobby Green. I think, was that his first?
8 years, I think someone said. 8 years to the day since his last knockout, which is fucking crazy. Yeah. I think it was Nolan King who said it on Twitter. So, yeah. Absolutely crazy. But a great win for Bobby Green. And you know what? Bobby Green is one of these guys who, every 6 fights, he'll have one fucking stinker where he shows up and he's rubbish. But it used to be maybe every 3 fights before, but now he's improving. Like, if he could get it every night he shows up and he's brilliant, he could go far. Do you know what I'd love to see? Bobby Green versus Conor McGregor. I think that'd be a great comeback fight, but I know that's probably not going to happen because it's Conor McGregor and all. But if we're talking from a sporting perspective only, I think that'd be a fun fight. But anyway, that's more than likely not going to happen. Alex Pereira, after a tough first round, I actually thought he defended really, really well. So Alex Pereira is like this world champion foot boxer, beat Israel Adesanya and all. Michailidis took him down, but he defended well, got back up, got to the cage, lost the first round, came out after 18 seconds, and Jose Aldo on Cub Swanson style double flying knee knockout. Absolutely beautiful stuff. And, we'll be hearing and seeing a lot more from Pereira over the next year, so we won't get into that fully. I'm going to leave Gaethje versus Chandler for this podcast is going to go on forever. Burgos, very good fight against Quarantillo, probably one of the most underrated fights of the weekend because of where it was. And Frankie Edgar, I don't know. Like, I picked Frankie Edgar to win this fight because I just thought Frankie Edgar couldn't be bad enough now to lose to Marlon Vera. And now I think Vera has improved, and I think he looked good. But my God, Frankie Edgar is a shadow of himself. And I would like the people who sent me abuse 2 years ago looking for Frankie Edgar to retire to come back to me now when he's been knocked out brutally 4 times in his last 7 fights. Where are those fans of Frankie Edgar now? That's what I fucking want to know. People are giving out to me, oh, you hate Frankie Edgar. I didn't want to see this happening to him. He's getting fucking knocked out, front kick to the face by a journeyman. Like, what the fuck? Like, oh my God, this is one of the parts of MMA I fucking hate. Oh, you can't call for someone to retire. You can't. If Frankie Edgar retired, he wouldn't be going through this. He wouldn't get this unnecessary damage. Frankie Edgar, if he doesn't have enough money, he does. Frankie Edgar has loads of money. He's earned great money. He could do appearances. He could do media. He can do everything for the rest of his life. Frankie Edgar should be set. He shouldn't be fucking fighting like this. He looks so slow. He looked completely out of shape. Oh my God, his takedowns were the only thing keeping him in it in the first round. And Vera was like, there was a stage there where Vera was just tying with him. Like Frankie Edgar, I'm a huge fan of Frankie Edgar, and this is why I'm saying this. He's one of the most brave fighters we've ever seen, and his bravery was still there last night. He was fucking throwing shots, and he was trying his hardest for like a round and a half.
Even after the TKO, he was at the ref. Here, come on.
Frankie Edgar's a fucking animal, and I've the utmost respect for Frankie Edgar, and he's a great guy, everything. I couldn't say enough things about Frankie Edgar, and that's why I never want to see him fight again. Please, we don't want another fucking BJ Penn. We don't need this. I would implore people to fucking think of Frankie Edgar. And I tried to think of Frankie Edgar 2 years ago, 3 years ago, whenever it was. And look what we've seen happen. But I don't know. I feel very strongly about this. Like it's fucking, I don't like to see this happening to people. I really don't like to see it happening to people. And I remember those exact words. It's only going to get worse for Frankie Edgar. And look where we are now. Look where we are. What did you think of it? Am I overreacting, or what do you think?
I think the people who support Frankie Edgar will say, he was a competitive fight until the end. But yeah, I think if you've been watching Frankie Edgar for years, and he's definitely a shadow of what he was before. And as you mentioned, he's taken a lot of damage. Even when he was years ago, when he was on his way to the lightweight title, he was taking a lot of damage. Obviously, the Graeme Maynard fights are historically big comebacks where he took a lot of damage, and now he's getting front kick knocked out by Marlon Vera. He's not going to retire, so I don't know. It's hopefully the UFC can kind of match him up with who can, they have to really kind of go to the bottom of the division to kind of match him up with winnable fights going forward. So maybe they'll do that, or maybe they'll use him to try and make names off him, which is probably the most likely thing. And if he wants to make that money, it's his choice. But for the long term future and for the kind of legacy of his career, it would be better for him to step away, but yeah, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, I agree. Right, Justin Gaethje against Michael Chandler. Oh God, Jesus Christ. Fight of the year candidate. Oh, just insanity. Chandler started off and fast, landing some brilliant shots.
Yeah, he came out to knock his head off. Yeah.
He really did, 100%. A close first round. Justin won the second. Nearly a 10-8, I would say. Landed brilliant shots. Chandler was winning the third, but then Justin Gaethje landed a huge shot. And honestly, I'm trying to give you like a roundup of this fight. There's no fucking point. No one cares. I don't care who Justin Gaethje won. I don't care. This was a fantastic fucking fight. Michael Chandler, everyone won. Michael Chandler went out there, and he went out there to do nothing but have a fucking war of attrition with Justin fucking Gaethje. What a mad bastard Michael Chandler is. Like, what? He went out to have a fight that most people would reckon he will probably lose. No one wants to get into a fucking war of attrition with Justin Gaethje, and he did it anyway. Like,
and he did a great job of it, really, as well, yeah, even though he lost.
He did a fantastic job. I've always had respect for Michael Chandler, a fantastic fighter, but God almighty, my respect levels for him went up tenfold after this. And look, Justin Gaethje, what a fighter as well. An absolute, like, I was maybe a bit negative, and a lot negative maybe. I won't roll back in it after the Habib fight, because he was showing up a little bit for what he is on the ground. But like, Justin Gaethje
getting into the ground is another thing, though.
Yeah, that's the issue. Exactly what he is when he gets to the ground, I suppose. But his wrestling is very good. He's striking, obviously. But he's just, his mentality and his fucking chin. God almighty, like, this man. The weird thing about Gaethje is, right,
just the lack of facial expression. It's like, oh wow, what are you talking about?
It looks like he gets hurt and he's like rocked up against the fence, and he's like, oh no, well and grand. It's like 15 seconds later. I've never seen anyone with the ability to fucking recover like Justin Gaethje does. He's an absolute fucking animal, he is. But what a fight. There isn't much we can say about it. Just go and watch it again, or if you haven't seen it yet, just, what a fight. What a fight. Just a drag him fucking, the blood on Michael Chandler. And he was smiling. That cut right over Michael Chandler's right eye. I don't know how he got through that, because it was going right into his fucking eye. What a fight. What a brilliant fight. Justin Gaethje, Michael Chandler. 3 cheers for you lads. Absolutely fucking brilliant. And in the 2 main events, the championship fight, Rose Namajunas, Zhang Weili, Colby Covington, Kamaru Usman. How did you score Namajunas versus Zhang?
I had a 48-47 for Namajunas, but there was some extremely close rounds in there. I thought the first round was Yang. I thought the second round was Namajunas, and the fourth and fifth were Namajunas, and the third was Yang. But I think,
yeah,
is that right?
Yeah, you could. Yeah,
I think so. I'm trying to remember exactly now. I think every single round was really, really close. I thought, they came down. I think when Rose throws her strikes, they don't look as powerful as they are. I think we've learned that over the years with her knockouts, that maybe the shots have more impact than maybe it looks when she's throwing them. I think when Yang throws, she kind of throws, and it looks like she's throwing harder. But I do think Rose was landing better impact than maybe she was getting credit for. And I think over the years she has done that. I think maybe because of her frame or something like that people think, these punches aren't really doing anything. But I think she's shown over the years, even against Yang in the first fight, that she does have big power, and I think she did hurt Yang several times in those rounds as well. I know she got hurt a couple of times as well, but I think when it went to the ground, I think there was little elbows from the back from Yang, and there was kind of small ground and pound from Namajunas, but she did land the odd kind of big shot in there that I thought kind of maybe stole those rounds where it was very close. But it was one of those that you probably have to go back and watch again with a fine toothpick.
Yeah. I think most of what you said there was absolutely 100% very fair. On the feet, I would agree with Rose, and the shots maybe she didn't get enough credit for. Such a close back and forth fight, like really. There really wasn't much impactful landed at any stage during the fight. Maybe one or two shots, but like I think that there was like one shot where it looked like Rose knocked her down, but it was a slip, and I know maybe the judges saw that and would have scored that, so there's absolutely no problem with that. But look, I just quickly I'll run through what I said. I thought the first round was very close. I just thought Zhang's leg kicks were maybe enough to take it. Rose got a takedown, but not much. I thought Zhang was
no impact out of it.
Not at all. I thought Zhang was just ahead. Round 2, I thought that was a good round for Zhang. I thought it was a pretty clear round for her. She was landing lovely high leg kicks, on the top of the leg. Hurt Rose with a left hook at one stage. She got a takedown. Rose got a late takedown, but did absolutely nothing with it. The third round, Rose was fighting longer. That was a round where Zhang slipped, and it looked like it was a knockdown. So I think a couple of the judges gave her that round. But other than that, I think Zhang's leg kick, she got the back at one stage, she got into the mount, she wasn't landing much. So I had a 3-0 Zhang at that stage, but I could see it 2-1 for Rose as well at that stage, right? In the fourth round was the first round they gave to Rose Namajunas, but that was close too. Zhang got her back at one stage, but Rose got on top. Rose was landing some ground and pound. I thought that was the best ground and pound of the fight from Rose. She didn't land too much, but I thought it was just enough. The fifth round, I know I'm out in a fucking island by myself here, but Rose landed fuck all in that round. Like Zhang, Rose Namajunas, right? I think people need to go back and watch this with no commentary on, because Rose took down Zhang, and as she was getting taken down, and for the next 5 seconds, Zhang landed maybe 10 elbows, like bang, 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 bang.
I think they were just there wasn't much in them though. They were just.
What did Rose land?
I think she landed a couple of bigger shots where Yang had her head kind of on the canvas, where the impact is going to be much bigger when your head has nowhere to go.
I just thought the commentary didn't even mention them. She didn't even mention the up kicks. She landed 2 nice up kicks. I thought she was clearly winning the ground from the bottom, or winning the round from the bottom. Should I say? I don't know. It was a close round, but like I think Zhang won that round. It's not about the position; it's about what you land and what you do from the position. And I just thought.
So you had a 4-1 for Yang.
Yeah, 49-46.
No, I think it is. The rounds were very, very close.
I could see it.
Could kind of depend what you're looking for. Yeah. So I think it's one of those fights where maybe if you might, as you said, go back and watch it with the volume down, or go back and watch it as a judge, you might score it differently. But at the time, I did think that Rose did enough. But, there was several rounds in there where I was like, I was trying to think back what was the kind of the big moments. And as you said, there wasn't very many. So you kind of had to, you had to kind of say, was this shot kind of, you had to kind of pick out which shots you thought were more impactful. And it's always a hard thing to do. I think if you took, I've probably a controversial opinion on the fifth round. Even if you take that out, right, I still think Zhang would have won it. Let's say I give the fifth round to Rose. I think she won 3-2. I could see 3-2 for Rose as well, absolutely. So it wasn't a robbery or anything like that. Yeah. The third round was very, very close. Yeah, all the rounds were very, very close.
I didn't think it was a great fight, to be honest. I just think there wasn't enough. I thought both were a bit nervy. I thought Zhang, I didn't think she fought her fight. I still, even though I think she won 4-1, I didn't think she fought her fight, because I think she was fighting the Namajunas fight too much, which led to a closer fight, which led to a worse fight than it could have been. I think it's a pity, because the first one obviously ended closely, and it was it's a pity Zhang didn't win almost, so we could see a third fight, so we could see the proper fight, maybe, that these two skill sets would match up against each other, but alas, it doesn't work like that. And look, fair play to Rose Namajunas, a great champion and a great fighter at 11-4 now, so well done to her. And then the main event, Kamaru Usman versus Colby Covington. Another one that I feel like Colby kind of, it's not that he left it behind him, but I think he left behind the game plan for like the first couple of rounds. Like Colby Covington at his best is a relentless wrestle boxer. And I said wrestler last night. Maybe I should have said wrestle boxer, because you look at the last couple of rounds, and Colby was wrestle boxing, like old school fucking Randy Couture, throwing in double legs, pushing him against the cage, landing 6 and 7 shots, dirty boxing. That's what Colby Covington is great at. And Colby Covington's not a great technical striker who throws in a takedown every, 45, not even 45, every 2 minutes. That's not what makes Colby Covington great. He tried to adjust his game to be a technical striker against Kamaru Usman, who's adjusted and become a great technical striker over the last while. And the biggest issue, I think, is I didn't think Usman fought that well at all. I didn't think it was his best performance whatsoever. I think he's become a fantastic fighter. I think he's probably the best fighter in the world at the moment. But I think Usman let it be a close enough fight early, even though I think he won the first 2 rounds. I think he definitely won the second round anyway. He almost finished him there. But the first round was close. But then Colby kind of came on the third. He got a late takedown and some strikes. He landed after, was close on the feet. They were both landing hard in the fourth. Usman landed the one kind of real hard shot. But then Colby landed a body kick, nice shots laid, and was 2-2. I thought Usman was slightly better in the fifth inning and won the decision. I think all the judges had it that way. I think one judge had it 4-1. But I don't know. Like, it was a very good fight, but this is another fight where we've had 2 fights, and I still feel like we haven't had the proper fight. Like, we had for maybe 2.5 rounds of this one where Colby was really doing what he should have been doing for the previous fucking 8 rounds.
He was already in the hole, yeah.
Yeah, it was like, it's so frustrating. I'm not a fan of Colby Covington, or I'm a fan of Colby Covington as a fighter, I'm a fan of Usman as a fighter, and all these people. But
it's all business, Sean. He's just gotten to you.
No, but I hate when... I'm taking Colby's side here. Like, I hate when someone doesn't produce. No,
I'm only joking. I'm just talking about him saying to Usman it's all business.
Did he? I didn't. I was trying to be McGregor, so did he? But it was a pity we didn't see it. But what did you think of it? I've just talked for ages there. But what did you think of the fight?
Yeah, obviously the kind of the fights before the 2 title fights kind of had a lot more excitement, finishes, and obviously the Gaethje Chandler fight that we talked about. So, but the jeopardy was there. Like, these were close rounds where they were on a knife edge. Even the ones that Usman won. If Covington had landed a big strike, he could have stolen that round. So it was an intriguing fight. I enjoyed it, but it wasn't the kind of maybe the scrap that Covington should have made it, or it kind of turned into that, but it wasn't. The game plan, as you said, took too long to kind of be implemented until it was basically too late already. He did really well to survive the second round. Like, I looked at one stage like he was going to be finished there. He's definitely a really tough guy, and he's hard as nails, and he comes to fight. But I think maybe it was emotions or the moment, or I don't know what it was. Coming in. He usually, yeah. Did you think so?
I thought he looked very nervous in the walkout, and I don't think that's like him necessarily. Yeah, It was weird.
I suppose he had been finished in the first match, so maybe that played into his head, and he took a while to get going. But he's lost twice now. It really was the time to kind of get it fucking done, or he's gonna have to work his way back to this. I doubt there's going to be a third match anytime soon. So yeah, I think he'll be disappointed that he kind of only got going late. But I think Usman obviously has to take a lot of credit for it. He nearly finished him in the second round. He's a very dangerous guy. He's very hard to take down. It's hard to get past his jab. He's definitely a more technical striker than Covington. So I think, taking into account the kind of skill discrepancy, he did pretty well overall in the end. But he definitely will be, him and his coaches will be looking at back, and if we could have just kind of got going what we got going a little bit earlier, we could have won this fight. Could have won this title. Yeah,
I think he probably could have, because I did think Usman looked a bit off. I didn't fight his normal game, I think, and I think he'd be better next time. But yeah, a good fight. I liked the first one. I think it could have been better. The first one was a better fight, I think. but I still think that could have even been better. But anyway, overall, a great week in the world of mixed martial arts and lots of madness. Next week, we mentioned obviously the Bellator card. There's a very good UFC card actually. Cynthia Calvillo fighting Andrea Lee. Kennedy Njoku is back here. Thiago Moises, Joel Alvarez. That's a very good fight in the undercard. Courtney Casey is on the card. Sean Woodson, I'm a big fan of his. Kyle Dawkins is fighting Roman Delidza. Song Yadong against Julia Arce. Ben Rotwell is back, and then in the main event,
Mark Casey as well.
Mark Casey as well, yeah. I mean, he was at the very bottom. Yeah, he is fighting Rafael Alva, so that should be fun. But Yair Rodriguez versus Max Holloway. Briefly, I suppose, before we go, we'll talk about it more in the Q&A and stuff, because this podcast will go on forever. What a fucking fight this is. I think this will be absolutely brilliant. Look, I think
I think Max Holloway should have his way here, to be honest.
I do too. I was about to say that. Yeah. But I think it will be fun until he kind of does have his way, because Yair Rodriguez poses problems. I don't think there's any doubt about that. But Max Holloway solves problems. So I think that's probably the way it will go here. But I'm really looking forward to it as a fun fight. I think Yair has proven, we don't even need to mention it with Max, but Yair Rodriguez has proven over the last while that he can get into a war and go through a war and have a very fun fight. Not always come out on the winning side of it, but his fight with TKZ will go down in history as a classic, and Max Holloway has had classic after classic after classic. So I don't know if this one will be a classic. I kind of feel like it'll be maybe a better and maybe a more, maybe not necessarily even, but even for a while matchup until Holloway wins it. But I can't wait. Should be fun. We will leave it at that. We've had so much talk today. We probably left something out. If we did, my apologies, but we will get to it. We'll have more podcasts throughout the week anyway. If you have any questions, at Severe MMA Pod, and I will have the Q&A on Tuesday morning, like always. Graeme, what a week for, as I mentioned again, the Severe MMA YouTube has been absolutely banging this week. I forgot to mention Tio as well. He was over in UFC 268, did a fantastic job. Got some great videos from there as well, and all the lads at the Bellator Media Day and the Bellator, their fight night as well. Fantastic stuff. So credit to all the lads at Severe MMA, and we will continue to do it. And if you want to support us, patreon.com/Severe MMA Podcast. If you enjoyed the stuff we did this week, that's how you support us, right, Graeme? I need to end this quickly because the video thing that I put up on YouTube is 1 hour 27 and we're 1 hour 26 and 20 seconds. So quickly give us our inspirational quote of the week from Morrissey, whoever you give it from.
They aren't inspirational quotes, but a dreaded sunny day, so let's go where we're happy, and I'll meet you at the cemetery gates.
You were prepared today, you fucker. We'll see you all next Tuesday, or whenever we come back, next Sunday probably. Good luck. If you would like to support the podcast and get some extra content while you're there, head on